Hey, this is Brand here at Bloody Decks, and we're down here at Fisherman's Processing, and we're about to go inside and have the pros show us how to cut up fish with the Bubba Blade.
On the long range trips, they occasionally have to freeze some of the fish because of the length of the trip. And so when we get back here, we have to defrost them before we can process them.
All right, so basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the head off of the tuna. We make our angle cut, coming down from the top, come back down, cut around the bottom fins here. Then we start at the tail area back down here, and we just follow the backbones completely up to the head where we made our first cut. And what you do is rub the knife down against the backbone, filling the center of the fish, also filling the spine of it here. Once we do that, we go ahead and spin it right around here, come from where we made the tail cut and work our way up. Just putting the tip of the knife all the way up to this belly cavity here. Once we get the belly cavity up, come back again, dig your knife in deeper, run it all the way up to where you're splitting the rib cage. Like that. And basically what you're doing here too is you're filling the spine of the fish with the tip of your knife, and you just run it gently up with it. Once you do that, go ahead and roll the fish over. And basically you're going to repeat the same steps. The knife, you can hold the dorsal fin and run it up. Then, easier thing to do is to remove the head. So what you do is you kind of pull the guts back towards you, take the tip of your knife and just gently cut it, and it'll make the head simply pop right off. So now what we're going to do is do the same thing we did on the other side. Cut the tail fin, run the tip of your knife right up the spine, where you have the belly cavity open. Hit the tip of your knife in deeper, where you feel the backbone. Run your knife gently up. And here, you want to separate the ribs.
Is that knife cutting through the bone?
Oh, easy.
Wow.
This knife really makes it easier to... This knife too, you can feel every bone in it, which a lot of knives, sometimes with this stiff blade you got, very easy to feel the bones and to get it separated. Right here, it's a little tougher, but actually not with this. And basically what you're doing is, like I said, you're putting the tip of your knife in, filling the spine of the fish and just rubbing it up. Now comes separating the loins from the spine. What you want to do is, there's a bloodline that comes running from here all the way back to the tail of the fish. And what it is you kind of make an imaginary line starting with this bone, going all the way back to its tail. If you look, you can see the color of the fish. Usually the darker part is the upper loin, this lighter part is the lower loin. So basically what I'm going to do is separate the loins from the carcass. Which again, you're not pressing too hard and filling the spine of the fish. Should separate very easily.
Now this is one that was been frozen on the
Right, yes, this is a frozen fish. But then again, as you can see, the separation from the spine, with this knife you can get every piece of the meat. I mean, you usually, so now I'm going to separate the lower loin. And the reason why I separate that rib cage before I separate, it makes it easier when you separate that rib cage, because now once I do this, I just rub the knife again down the spine of the fish. The loin will separate easily. So now we're going to roll it over and do the same thing to the opposite side. Which I'm doing is following my imaginary line down the...
So you're just guessing where that is, the different shades of the fish?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And now I'm going to do the same thing. And like I said, when we separated that rib bone there, it made it easier for us when we follow that line. The loin should just pop right off. Basically, that's how you do the tuna. As you can see, with that knife, as you can feel every bone, you get a nice clean cut on everything.
Perfect.
Yeah, nice. This being a frozen fish, which isn't I mean, this is a nice color for a frozen fish. It's not the chocolate brown or anything, it's really nice. Alright, so now what we're going to do is once we get the loins off, we're going to separate the ribs from the loin and take the bloodline out. We're going to also take this membrane off the belly. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the knife and we're going to fill the backbone, and you just rub the tip of your knife first so that it separates real easy like that. Once you do that, you go ahead and just keep rubbing it down lower and lower, but make sure you fill the ribs with the tip of your knife. And what happens there is it'll separate without taking too much meat. As you can see here is all the ribs without taking too much meat off the bone. Now what we're going to do is just gently come across to take the membrane off your belly, which again is basically just kind of like skinning the fish, gently pushing against with your tip of your knife. So there again, like I said, separates the membrane from your belly, which saves all your troubles from when you get home. You don't have to deal with it. So we'll separate the belly piece here, which is all now perfect, ready for the barbecue. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to take the bloodline off. All this black meat we're going to take right off your loin too. So basically you're going to start up top and just kind of gently do the same thing you did with the ribs. Just kind of slowly pick at it and pull as you come across. And with this bloodline, it kind of goes in and comes out. So what you want to do is kind of, like I said, gently just bring your knife down. And then as you come at an angle, kind of like you're curving at it, and just gently rub down. Once you feel that, you feel the skin part once you get down lower. What I like to do with that, some people cut this completely off, but I like to leave it on and let it flap down. With the weight of this bloodline, it kind of pulls the skin tight, makes it a lot easier for us to rub the knife just gently across. And what I'm doing here now is I'm separating the skin part from the loin, and you just kind of gently run through it. So if you try and go too fast, what's going to happen is you're going to leave some skin on there. And it's just like I said, with this knife you could actually feel the skin separating from the fillet. Just give it a couple times. Peel it back, and there you go. You got your skin and your bloodline all on one piece, and then you have a clean loin with nothing on it. What I like to do is come back. You see a little of this little bloodline up in here. Just take the knife, kind of gently just rub up against it. You don't need to take too much off. And it cleans up a lot nicer. Okay, and then what I like to do is, there's a little spot where a vein runs through. As you can see, here's a hole down here and a hole up here. And it's a head vein that runs through that pumps blood, which we don't need that piece on here, so we'll just cut that right off, which you're not going to lose too much meat. And then we come back and we get a little bit of the bloodline, whatever we kind of miss, and like I said, you just kind of pick at it. Come right off. There's also a little bit of a muscle tissue right here, and this here is I believe for the sickle fin underneath the fish, so it helps it kind of move the fin. That piece right there we do not need, so I'll remove all of that, and all it is just a fatty tissue, gritty little piece there, so we'll take that off. And once we got that, there's a little bit of a bloodline too also towards the tail here. And with this knife, I mean, I barely even press up against it and it just shave it right off. So we'll get that off because we don't need that bloodline on there, because that bloodline will make your fish taste real fishy. So now what I'll do here is I'll portion this fish out. This person wants it in 2-pound packs. So what I'll do is I'll just cut it straight down. Jeez. It does cut real easy. Barely even pressing any pressure on the knife. And just kind of smoothly cut through into the 2-pound pieces. Another thing that's important is you don't need to saw at your fish. You should be able to do it all in one simple, easily brush of the knife. If you have to saw through it, then your knife's obviously not sharp enough, or it just can't cut through fish, because you shouldn't have to saw at it. It should be an easy, smooth, one surface cut. Bloodline back here, trim the bloodline right off of that. So that's how I do my lower loins. Now we'll come up to this upper loin. And the upper loin, I'll do the same thing with the bloodline as I did with my lower loin, leaving that bloodline attached to the skin. And the upper loin is basically the same thing. Pick a point of entry and just kind of smoothly come back. And what I like to do is kind of hold my fingers against here, pulling it back so I can see exactly where the bloodline's going. Because going down towards the tail, the bloodline actually goes deeper into the fish, as you can see there. So what I'll do is now, once I see where I need to go, I angle my knife out towards me, so that way I'm not taking too much meat. And again, just going just till I feel the skin with the tip of the knife. Which again, that knife, I could actually feel everything with this thing. So now what I'm gonna do is, again, come across with the knife, gently just pressing up against the skin and the meat. Okay, now I'm gonna lift up the thing and then just gently come across. And again, see, very easily separating the meat and the skin, and then again leaving the bloodline attached to the skin, getting it all in one piece in one section. So now what I'll do here is roll it over. This one also has a sickle fin on the top, which is going to be gritty if you don't really need this piece of meat. So what we'll do is we'll remove this just like so, and again, not putting any pressure on the knife. And again, here there also is a little bit of a bloodline. So what we'll do is just hold up here, gently just rub the knife down and shaving it off. Which is perfect. So now we got this nice loin, bloodline off, skin off, all ready to be trimmed down into a 2-pound pack. Now this upper loin, there is no vein going through it. It's usually only the lower loins. So now what I'll do is, like I said again, gently push down with the knife and come across. Same thing here again. You just want to do one easy, smooth pressure on it. That way you get an evenly cut with everything. It's all one size. Same thing again. Now, any gaff marks we'd like to remove, and again with this knife you just gently push up against it and cut it off. A little bit more there. That way you're removing everything. You got a nice piece of meat that's ready to go right on the barbecue. And again, just gently pushing down with the knife, coming straight across with it. Giving you an evenly cut on both sides. Looks like a nice piece of meat. And another thing too is there's this bristly part right up here, and this is from that dorsal fin. You can remove it. It won't hurt to leave it on, but you can remove it. It'll make it a little easier to make your final cuts, but geez, look at that, just comes. No pressure on the knife, just shaving right off. So that way it might make it easier for your cuts when you make it to 2 pounds. It comes right off. And again, barely pressing on the knife, giving you the nice smooth cut surface. I mean, that's basically it.